Great. So, yeah, hi, I'm Debbie. I'm the CEO of the OLLIE Foundation, and I was asked to just give a little summary of what OLLIE is all about, but also share one of our key trainings, just a very short, abridged version of it, because actually it might be something that would be really useful as a tool to support you in the work you're doing in your charities. So let me introduce, as you can see, the people on the screen. In addition to myself, these were the three founders, the three parents who found themselves in bereavement counselling, having lost a son to suicide. And they came together and vowed to do whatever they could to stop another family going through what they were going through. And OLLIE actually stands for One Life Lost Is Enough. It's an acronym, it's not the name of one of their children. And we provide a whole range of training. And although we're very, very strong in delivering suicide prevention and intervention training for teens, professionals, parents, we offer a whole range of other training as well, including wellbeing sessions, art sessions. There's a whole range of stuff that we deliver, but I can tell you more about OLLIE if there's time at the end. So, goal setting is really key to our work, and I thought it'd be useful to touch base and talk about why, as a prevention charity, it's so useful for us, for our delegates, and why we thought it might be useful for you to know about too. So look, you probably all know that stress is actually key to survival. Our stress responses let us know when it's safe to move forward and when we need to move back and away from something. So everything that I'm going to say over the next half an hour or so, even though I might be talking about an individual, think about it in terms of how this could apply to an organisation and a charity. Because actually, too much stress is detrimental. Even though scientists know stress is inbuilt, it's important for our survival, we absolutely know too much is detrimental. And it can interfere with decision making, and it can cause all sorts of problems. I have this little picture down here of a fractal, and that's to remind us that what's true for the individual is true for the team and true for an organisation. So just again, I know I've just mentioned it, but everything that I'm going to say this morning, even though I'm using really light little examples, try and think about it in terms of your charity and how you might use this process. So goal setting is important to OLLIE because we know that not knowing how to achieve your goals is really stressful. If you know something is over there that you want to get to and you don't know how to get it, that's problematic. We also know that goal setting is really important to resilience. And again, think of resilience in terms of your charity. How resilient is your charity to the different impacts it faces? This quote on the screen, resilience is a complex, multifaceted construct referring to a person or organization's capacity to handle difficulties, demands, high pressure without experiencing negative effects. And what develops resilience? Well, we know that there's a whole range of things. Resilience isn't a thing, it's many things and many experiences that help us to be resilient. And again, true for the individual, true for us as an organisation. So hope, willingness to be open to new ideas and be positive. I'm sure all of us have different experiences of the last 18 months in terms of our charity. But certainly for OLLIE, the ability to be agile, to be small enough to move very, very quickly and make those decisions without 20 different meetings and people signing off on things was actually really helpful. And we were able to move online, whereas none of our work was online before. Now, I know many charities that is just not the way they could work. But being open to and not just focusing on the problem, but looking at the solution helped us to flourish, in fact, over the last 18 months. Being able to give and ask for help. Well, I mean, that's just what Givey stands for, doesn't it? So we know that we're all quite good at that. A willingness to tackle our problems, not hide from them. Able to accept our strengths and those things we're not yet so strong in, learning from our mistakes. But the key one, the one that whoever you look at who talks about resilience, they will talk about knowing what your goals are, but most importantly, how to achieve them. There's actually a whole science around goal setting, and at OLLIE we run this 2-hour workshop. I'm giving you a really, really watered down little version of it today. But if you would like to come to the 2-hour, which is still just an overview, but it includes guided practice, you're all invited as my guests. 19th of August at 2 o'clock, we're running a goal setting session. We run them pretty much every month. So if that date doesn't suit you, just let me know and come to another one. You would be so, so welcome. This is just a really short little overview. You're welcome to make notes, but as I say, if you want to come on the 19th or to one of the other sessions, please do. So the process that we use is actually part of a methodology called the Theory of Constraints, or TOC. TOC is recognized as one of the world's leading business tools, along with Lean and Six Sigma. And TOC is allowing companies, like the companies you see on the screen, the organizations you see there, but I could rattle off so many well-known organizations to you who all use TOC to improve their business. And whatever our business is, whether we're a charity or we're an individual, we all want to flourish. I invite you to look at TOC in your own time if you would like to. Certainly at Amazon, everyone who joins in the management side of Amazon is given a TOC instruction manual as part of their induction. And the reason why companies love TOC, not only does it allow them to flourish, you can use this process for those big team goals, you can use them for individual goals, but you can also use them for those things that can trip you up. And I'm considered to be one of the world's leading experts in using this process in personal development. And I'm the first person in the world that has used this and used it a number of times successfully with people on the day they wanted to end their life, to actually move out of suicidal ideation and back into hope. It is an incredibly powerful tool, and it can be used successfully with children, teenagers, and is powerful enough to be used by heads of industry. Dr. Eli Goldratt, who you see on the screen right now, created TOC, but he was such a generous, fabulous, incredible individual that he donated TOC to the world. It has Creative Commons. So although you see copyright written on these slides, it's because this presentation is mine, but the actual knowledge is available to everyone. So Dr. Eli Goldratt, his seminal piece of work, he was an Israeli physicist and is considered to be a business genius. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but his seminal work was The Goal. And he wrote this many, many, many years ago. Now, since The Goal, since TOC has made such an impact in companies around the world, we've got leading scientists like Angela Duckworth and Gabrielle Oettingen, who have really, their life's work has been about resilience and goal setting. And everything that they say backs up this process, which is just delightful. So a goal, what is it? It's the end result of our hard work. It's a positive, really desirable result. And it's something that is often considered ambitious and hard to achieve. There may be any number of obstacles, things that could get in our way. Now, when we have something to do, we often just start with a to-do list, don't we? We're going to have a party. All right, let's write out the guest list. Let's write out the food. What do we need? What drinks do we need to buy? So I think we're all pretty used to that kind of thing. But I'm talking now about really ambitious goals. And I also want to let you know that according to science, the to-do list isn't the best place to start. It's actually way down in the process, step 4. So I'm going to tell you about steps 1, 2, and 3. First of all, I'd like to let you know that to get to our goal, there are a series of steps we have to take. And there could be anything that could get in our way of overcoming each one of these little stepping stones, each one of these obstacles. So this process that we talk about at OLLIE is very much like this Google map of where you are now and where you want to get to. And again, it's true for us as individuals, but think of this now in terms of your charity. You're probably all aware of SMART. It's how most people think about goal setting. That's the sort of science that most people understand. They use this acronym and they look at their goal and they look at SMART and they say, yes, it's specific, it's measurable, I believe it's attainable, etc., etc., etc. SMART is useful. However, there is a but. It assumes that you have the strategy. It assumes that you know what to do. And actually, it doesn't give you that. It's a useful acronym. But if we could be a bit smarter about it, we're actually, according to science, 78% more likely to achieve our goals. So let me run you through what it looks like. So step one sounds super simple. It's identify and clearly define your goal. What is it? Sounds really simple, doesn't it? But people get stuck there. And people can trip up just at that first point. For instance, let me just share, this is from a slide. So we teach this to primary students. We do a transition workshop for primary kids. And so this is an example from that particular presentation. And we talk about this kid who really wanted to join the football team. That was their goal. They were really clear about it. They knew they wanted to join the team. And they achieved their goal. They did achieve that wonderful thing of joining the squad, but not as a player. They were the assistant to the coach, and they ended up cutting up oranges, making sure drinks bottles were full. So this is just an example we use about the clarity that you need. And in our larger workshop, we really drill down a little further into the detail of this language, how sometimes you can be overambitious in a way that actually trips you up. So for instance, an example of that, yesterday A-level results came out. If your goal was to get 3 A's and yesterday you got 2 B's and an A, then you didn't reach your goal. But your results still allowed you to get the place at university that you wanted. So it's how we word our goals. So it could be to get the grades to go to university. That's exactly what you want to say. When you're too detailed with that sort of, it has to be with 3 A's. And again, just think of this in terms of your charity. If you have a goal, so for instance, at our charity, when I came on board as a CEO, our board's goal was for there to be 100% of people in each community to be suicide aware. With the greatest respect to my board at the time, I felt that that was ridiculous. Well, first of all, the 100% of anything is always almost impossible to achieve. But why? Why did we need every single person in our community to be suicide aware? What was the logic behind that? So I hope that gives you a flavour of how important it is to define your goal clearly and in a way that doesn't trip you up. So I'm going to use an example now. Again, it's a really simple one. It's just of a child who wants to improve his reading level. So his goal is to be better at reading by the end of term. He's not very good at reading currently. Now I want to bring Gabrielle in, who's one of the scientists I said we'd speak about, because she really has a problem with positive thinking. She says it's wonderful, and yes, there are lots of great attributes about positive thinking, but it can be problematic when it persuades certainly the dreamers amongst us to believe that, well, we've done the work, we've had the goal, we've written it down, we've put the message out to the universe, things will just fall into place. She says positive thinking has to be done in the right way, in the right form. And for her, one of her big pieces of knowledge is this thing called mental contrasting, which is when you look at what your goal is, excuse me, and then the next step is to be really clear what is currently getting in your way. Because if you could do it, you probably already would have done. So what's stopping you right now? And that is step 2 of this process. So here we go with Nathan. His goal was to reach his reading level. What are his obstacles? Why isn't he reading properly at the level he should be? right now. And this is this mental contrasting. Let's just have a quick word about obstacles. An obstacle is anything that could trip you up, anything that you don't have, or maybe you have too much of. And it can also be attitudes. It can also be our sense of fear of failure, fear of success. There can be all sorts of personal things, and within a team working on a goal, all of that comes in. And, you know, teams that work effectively understand their strengths and their weaknesses within their team. Maybe strengths and weaknesses isn't a term we use anymore, but you know what I mean. We know what we're good at and who we should put forward for certain things. So this is important. So, okay, let's go back to Nathan. What were his obstacles to reading? He said, I don't like to read. There's no one to help me. Can't find a book I like. I'm no good at it. It's boring. Again, just keep in mind all the time how you would use this within your charity setting, or maybe even clients that you work with. But what I want to draw your attention to on this slide is that in so many cases, we blame others, or it's other people's fault. If it's someone else's fault, it can't be my fault. And that means I don't have to change. I don't have to take responsibility. So we very classically see that in his list of obstacles. Now, if we'd started with the to-do list, we would have missed all this incredibly important information. And I think maybe you're beginning to see that if you start with the to-do list and miss this, you can see how so easily people don't achieve their goals because they're not actually focusing on the stuff that could get on in their way. Okay, when we look at his obstacles, how resilient does he sound? Where's his self-esteem? Where's his self-efficacy? His belief that he could do it if he tried. We can see it's all on the floor, isn't it? I mean, it just doesn't exist. Now, let's bring Angela Duckworth in. Remember, she's another scientist who speaks about goal setting. And she says that people have so many obstacles that can prevent them from reaching their goal. Now, obstacles don't necessarily have to be, you know, they're genuine things. So, for instance, if I want to be at my desk by 8 a.m., but in a non-COVID world, I've got 3 kids to get to school, I want to walk the dog, I've got packed lunches to make, I also would really like to do an exercise class first thing. There are a number of things there. They're all good things, right? But they're eating up my time. And if I think I have to do all of them, you can see why my mornings are just crazy. And I have numerous obstacles that get in the way of me being at my desk by 8 a.m. Okay, so just like we're all used to using those lovely maps on our phone that allow us to know where the obstacles are, that are the roadblocks that could get us from getting to our destination on time, this is what this process is really about. It's one of the gifts of it is it raises these obstacles, put some light on them so that you could see what could trip you up, so that you can get round them. Okay, Gabrielle, let's go back to Gabrielle. She says the most effective strategy for ensuring goal attainment is planning how you will overcome your obstacles. Okay, now we've written all the obstacles down, we're going to do something which is going to sound a little bit whimsical, but it's incredibly important. We're going to imagine that we've jumped into the future. It might be next week, it might be next month, it might be next year. But we're going to jump into the future in our minds to a point where these problems don't exist anymore. They've been solved. And we're going to describe each of those situations, each of those obstacles from that point, as if the problem didn't happen or we resolved it. Let me show you what that looks like. So remember, Nate said he didn't like to read. He's imagined himself a few months from now as a young man who's found books that he enjoys reading, and so on and so forth. He rewrites every one of his obstacles from a future point, imagining that it was no longer a problem. Now, it looks whimsical, but it's actually an incredibly important step, especially when we're stuck with a personal issue and we just can't see it ever getting better. So at this point, we don't need to know the how. We don't need to explain how we got there. We're just imagining that it was all okay. What we know from the scientists like Gabrielle and Angela is this mental contrasting, looking at our obstacles, potentiates goal commitment. So when we're real and authentic and genuine, and we're absolutely able to say, these are all the things that are getting in our way, it can help us focus our attention on problem solving. Okay, so if we go back to this next step where we've imagined ourselves in the future, where we've solved all our charities, money problems, or whatever problems we're having, let's just imagine it through Nathan's eyes. We're not looking at the obstacles now, we're looking at the short-term goals, which are these points in the future. How resilient, how happy, how confident, how able does Nathan feel now? He looks and sounds like a different child. And I promise you, if you do this, you will also experience that sense of, it's possible, we can do this. We don't know how just yet, but we're now focusing our attention on solutions rather than looking at problems. The next step in this process is finding the actions that we have to take to make that future reality possible. I hope this is all making sense. So it's a simple conversation with Nathan. How is he going to find these books that he enjoys reading 3 months from now? And he comes up with this list. He just writes it as he says it. They're not necessarily in any order, it's just as his thoughts come out. The next step is to look at these actions and put them in some kind of order, because some of those things are going to happen before others. Some of them are separate, it won't matter when they happen, as long as they happen. And so just so that you're aware, we actually always advise people to write all their actions, not on a scrap of paper, but on each action on an individual scrap of paper or post-it note, because then when it comes to your planning, you can pop those post-it notes on the wall, on a window, on your desk. It's also the case that when you do that, when you're plotting all your actions, you will definitely come up with ideas that you hadn't thought about earlier, and you can add them in. And when you go into companies like Amazon or Microsoft or the American Air Force who uses TOC, you will see huge walls full of these post-it notes and these flow diagrams that show that they're constantly reviewing and changing as each step is accomplished. There are obstacles in life for all of us as individuals, as charities, as organizations. This process, and I know I've just done a huge rush through it to give you a taster of what it looks like. It allows us to think about what's possible, what could possibly go wrong, what could probably go wrong, what is already going wrong, and then work out what we can do about it. It's such a solution-focused way of planning. So step one is write down your stated goal. Write out any obstacles that could prevent you from reaching your goal. This is not to be doom and gloom. This is to be realistic. And it's what we call mental contrasting. And then this potentiating the implementation intention, which is what Angela Duckworth talks about, is looking at how you overcome each of your obstacles. And then follow your plan. And science actually says that people who do this are 78% more likely, statistically 78% more likely to achieve their goal, which is pretty phenomenal, right? I really love this, sorry, I rushed through that last quote, but I really love this quote from Gabrielle. She says, success is supported by the conscious adoption of a nuanced kind of optimism, one that takes into account the real life barriers of success. We have, I know I had a few minutes, so what I might want to do, actually, if I just make my screen large again so I can see all of you. Gemma, I can take, if the group would be interested, I can take you through a personal example of someone in crisis who used this process and how it saved their life. But I also don't want to take up any more time if people wouldn't find that useful. So I'll let the group decide.
I'm happy with it. It's up to our guests here.
Debbie is fantastic. I mean, thank you, because I mean, I don't know about the others. I had my hat on as you know, like you. I'm a trustee and also chair of 2 different charities. It's surprising, no matter how much experience you've got, that when you go through this process, it just lights up lots of things that you either take for granted, to be honest, you know. And I think it's really important that it's the process of the structure to go through that actually is really important. And I think the framework is fabulous, basically.
It works. It's why big companies use it, why Amazon uses it, why Amazon gives it. If you want me to take you through the personal, I know some people said yes, so yes. I can show you this, because this is quite incredible. So just a little bit of a backstory. Let me just make you all small again. This was a woman, 25 years old, who had seen her GP that morning, was being treated for anxiety, and had gone basically to give notice and to say, I can't do this anymore. She'd been sent home to wait for the emergency mental health team to come and evaluate her. They didn't come until the evening because they're a very busy team. They did come and evaluate her, and they agreed that she needed urgent counselling. What they didn't think was necessary was anything beyond that at this point. So she remained at home because, bizarrely, I can't tell you why, but they did not put in a safe plan. A safe plan is something that we do with people who are thinking about ending their lives. In desperation after they left, because she wasn't actually any less suicidal at that point than she was in the morning, the family contacted me and said, we know you do this goal setting stuff. We know you do this conflict resolution stuff. You literally couldn't make the situation any worse. There is nothing you could do to make it worse. But is it possible you could help? So I did meet with her, and I'll share with you all that I knew that if she wanted to talk to me, she didn't want to die. She just didn't know how to continue living. And those are not the same thing. So we did some conflict resolution. I won't go through that now, but you're very welcome to contact me or come on any of our training and I can share all that information with you. But essentially, if she could, she would have liked to have felt content, and that was something she didn't feel. So we used the goal setting process with her. So her goal was to feel content, and I asked her, what right now stops you from feeling content? And this was the list she gave me in the order she gave it to me in. Now, if you look at this list, you'll see that she goes from macro straight away into micro, and then back out into the things that we see people who are desperate talk about. They're worthless, they don't deserve better, she's a burden, she's a failure. I have shown this case study to so many people, so many counsellors, so many, I've done talks internationally, all over the world, and people will see themselves in this list, or they will see someone they know in this list. So this was her list of obstacles, but it actually seems to be very generic. It really speaks to the human condition. Okay, so using the process that I've just shared with you, I wanted to look at a point in the future where these were no longer problems. Now, I didn't start with the way I perceive myself, because that's this big, huge meta thought. Thankfully, the next obstacle on her list was acne and scars, so that was manageable in comparison. Essentially, we had around a 10-minute chat about what the problem was from her perspective, and what the solution might look like. Turns out she knew a lot about looking after skin. She knew about chemical peels. She knew about camouflage makeup. She knew about health professionals, nurses that teach you how to use camouflage makeup. So it actually wasn't difficult for her to imagine herself in 3 months' time where she knows how to make her skin look good. Now look, TOC is very simple on the surface, but your understanding of language is the more you understand how to use language, the more successful you'll be in using it. So I just want to point out, we didn't write in 3 months' time, my acne will be cleared or my skin will be amazing, because I can't make those promises and nor can she. But we can be very clever with our words and we can find a solution that looks sufficient, that is good enough for her to work towards. And in this case, it was, I know how to make my skin look good. Okay. We carried on with every single one of her obstacles. We had a little chat about each of them. And she was very clear, very articulate. She was fighting for her life. And she was able, as you can see, to write all of these short-term goals. She'd imagined herself 3 months from now. She has a good number of friends. She's able to save money, etc., etc., etc. How different does she sound to you right now? She ended up by saying that, yes, she could imagine all this being the case, that in 3 months' time, she would be someone who could be happy with who she was. When people are so overwhelmed that they can even be thinking that life isn't worth living, it's as if they're frozen over. They can't think straight. They can't make decisions anymore. This process was a bit like one of those boats that comes and unblocks the ice. It gives oxygen back to her brain. It allows her to think again. Now, I just want to spend a moment looking at that list of her, how she had articulated her obstacles as if they'd been solved. She now has this new frame of reference. She has hope. And you remember from what I said earlier, hope is key to resilience, and hope is the one thing that people who are suicidal don't have. But look at this list. These are her words. She wrote this. I just facilitated the conversation. I didn't find the solution. She found them, which means this goes with her. She doesn't need to come back to me. She now has this knowledge, and it saved her life. So I'll stop there because, yeah, that's probably enough from me for now. But just to share with you, it's a very powerful tool. I've used it on a number of occasions with people who are in that desperate place, and every time successfully. I've shown with you how big corporations use this tool, and I've also used examples from kids just looking to improve their schoolwork. So yeah, I hope you found that useful, and maybe there are elements there that you think, oh yeah, okay, that's how I can maybe look at some of my problems, or look at how I achieve my goals in the charity. So that's probably enough from me for now.
Thank you so much, Debbie. That was brilliant. I mean, I don't run a charity myself, but as a personal level, I can definitely find that very useful. And it'll be interesting to know or to see how some of our charities here would use it. In what way? I know a lot of charities, small charities in particular, have a lot of challenges and many goals they want to achieve. I don't know if anyone, sorry, go on, Debbie.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, culturally, we've all grown up in cultures that we want to be positive, we want to be forward, and we're very good at not looking at the things that aren't working so well. And we're very good at not talking about the things that aren't working so well. We learn that from childhood. And I think that's why people look at this tool and they feel liberated, because it gives them permission to say, right now, these are all the things that are getting in my way. That's not, and it's so lovely to be able to say that and it not be a personal thing. It's not, oh, I'm not good enough, or I don't know this, which is what people always worry about, I think. it's very non-confrontational. It's very, this is what's getting in my way. Now let's find a solution.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. I wonder, like, Debbie, is from a charity's perspective, have you used this process to achieve a goal within the OLLIE Foundation? Like, do you have an example you could?
So the thing is, because it's part of my DNA,
Yes, yeah,
we use it, so it's part of a template. So every project that we have,
yeah.
we have a planning document that includes the goal setting in it. So it looks at what our obstacles are. It looks at them in terms of economic, sustainability, environment. So we're looking at different obstacles from a charitable position for everything we do, whether it's a training or an event, or those big sort of strategy issues. Yeah. And what's really delightful about it is that it allows you to just imagine what other people's issues might be. So for me as a CEO, I have to keep my board happy. So it allows me to look at, well, what would their obstacles be? If I'm going to ask them for £10,000 to do this thing, like redesign my website, what would their obstacles be? So you sort of, I don't know if anyone here remembers like De Bono and Six Hat Thinking, but in Six Hats Thinking, you would put on different hats, and depending on the hat you were wearing, it allowed you to have, it gave you permission to have those thoughts. So it's sort of the same idea. So it can be really, really helpful. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does, definitely. I don't know if anyone else has any comments or questions for Debbie.
I mean, I think what I find quite interesting from like a physio perspective is that we use goal setting all the time with our patients and our participants. And especially as I'm new to the charity sector as well, and like working within a small organization, it's really interesting to think about it from our perspective and people running the charity and our goals, and that should be applying this kind of thinking to us as well. And yeah, it's really interesting.
It's amazing for healthcare. When you've got a patient and they're non-compliant and you just can't understand, why aren't they doing this? Looking at what's getting in your way of doing this, you can flag up things. When I teach counsellors, and for instance, if they come up from a background of drugs or they come from a background of finance, whatever it is, often they have to have these sort of blinkers on, and they can only talk to that client about the drugs or the alcohol or the finance or the housing. Well, we're human beings that are multifaceted, that's all part of us. And I try and help them understand it doesn't matter where you come in. Talk to the person about what's relevant to them right now. So if your patients aren't doing the exercises or doing what you suggest, this could be a really non-confrontational way of getting to what's stopping them.
Yeah, and a really positive way of doing it as well.
There's absolutely no blame. It's just, let's look at what's going on.
And it really gets them involved in those goals rather than it sort of being more of a sort of external sort of voice. So
exactly, they have to work out the solutions for themselves, and they're so empowered.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing.
I can imagine they must feel really good about themselves when they've thought of that themselves.
Yeah,
it must really give them the motivation as well.
Absolutely. So many times for the people that we're talking to who are in crisis, they're juggling so many balls and they just don't know how to manage anymore. So making this, making it feel manageable is one of the things that, they particularly enjoy. And for some people, I have to say, even writing it all, some people say seeing it all in boxes makes it feel like it's all contained. And for most people that feels useful, but I've met some people that have said seeing it all written down is overwhelming. So I just say to people, right, fold the paper up, just look at one row and we're just going to look at that this week or this month, or this is where our focus is as a charity. Because I don't know about you guys, with our charity, we have so many ambitions. We're you know, every day we've got a new idea for something we could do that's amazing. And of course you have to focus. You can't do everything. And that's probably our biggest, the goal that we would have right now is around the focus of what we should be doing. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, please do. I reckon we could use that at Givey as well, couldn't we? We have lots of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been so lovely to share some of the work with you.
I think personally it's been really, really useful. And I think this is one of the things that we want to do is that it's I think John is here. I can't see him, but he's here. He's one of our...
I'm here now, yeah.
Oh, yeah. John is one of our kind of person that actually constantly talks about, you know, how we need to be in terms of future, and you know, this peer-to-peer learning. It's not about us giving, it's about us both learning. And I think the format we created now, initially it was all about, oh, let's just talk about fundraising and how you get money, but actually that's not what the whole subject matter is for small charities, and that's what we're focused on. And, you know, we don't have the resources, nor do you or most of our, you know, partners and clients or whatever label you want to give. But the bottom line is we are together, and the collaboration is how we're going to learn and kind of develop best practice and so forth, and share that knowledge across each other. And I think the format, the next one we've got is specifically somebody who's just brilliant at fundraising. So that person will just go, is just like a fireball that really will be kind of idea after idea after idea. And then if you pick up 2-3 things that you thought or not thought about to improve or do, then that's, you're moving the dial forward. So, you know, I got a lot out of what you just said today, and I'm just going, some of it is just go back to basics and say, right, okay, go through this process and see what it throws out, basically, or whatever, you know. I don't know what you think, John, because you are the
no, thank you very much, Debbie. That was really fascinating. I got all the kids at home today on the internet, so I'm not have my camera on much, but no, really, really good. I think it's there's something so on lots of different levels, you know, it was resonating with me, you know, right from, you know, what we're doing at Givey, what we're doing in our own charities, what we're doing in our own lives. You know, these are muscles that we've really got to develop, aren't they? You know, and you are right. Hope is so important, and to, you know, I think you've sort of gone for the jugular today, you know, because we can have lots of ideas in Givey about what we should do, but actually, you know, if you're on the wrong train, you know, every station's the wrong one, you know. So you've got to really make sure you're on the right train, doing the right, you know, having a very clear goal as to what you want with what you're doing. And I think because a lot of us are doing it part-time, a lot of these things that we're doing, there are lots of, probably, as you've just said right at the end there, you know, being focused, probably the one exercise that we should use this whole process on is how, you know, the goal is to be really focused, because if you don't go for one thing, you'll probably not get anything. You know, I think that's the big challenge that we all face. So yeah. You know, I think I'll probably run through the exercise that you've taught us today, just to find out what's the obstacles for, you know, for remaining very, very focused, you know. And I think that's a big part of why people burn out so quickly, is just that lack of focus. No, thank you very much. Lots to mull over.
Well, John, you're an ace student, let me tell you, because Dr. Goldratt, who created all of this stuff, that is his key message to everyone, is focus. And like you said, if you're on the wrong train, every stop is the wrong destination. And that's so true. And there's I encourage you, it should be easy to find on YouTube. It's a little cartoon called Decorating the Fish. Has anyone come across that? So it's a really dry, it's only 4 minutes of your life though, it's very dry, but it's just a very basic sort of business type cartoon that looks at a problem that they had to solve, and this company, they did achieve their goal, but because of their lack of attention, they actually ended up thinking that one of the things that they had done had allowed them to achieve their goal. And so it's called decorating the fish, because they'd attributed their success to the wrong thing. Now, of course, the problem with that is going forward, you repeat what you thought was successful. And they had completely misunderstood how the success had been achieved. And at OLLIE, we run quite differently to a lot of charities in that we try and take finance out. So we don't charge for our work, which most people delivering suicide prevention charge quite a lot of money for. And there'll be good reasons for that. But just as for us, we made a choice that we weren't going to charge for something that we just think should be given away. Now that creates all kinds of obstacles. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I completely went off track, but decorating the fish, check it out, it's interesting.
Debbie, thank you. I found that really interesting, and I would love to get my trustees along to our workshop. So I also wondered if you do any collaboration. I also volunteer for an organisation called Shout that do a crisis text line. I wondered if you do any collaboration training, etc.
We collaborate with everyone. We are, oh my gosh, that's all we ever do. Not everyone wants to collaborate though.
No, okay.
So we have reached out to Shout before, and we were told quite clearly.
Oh, interesting.
That was a long time ago, I have to say, but the response was very clear, and so I haven't ventured back.
Are you part of the reason I ask is because I've actually done some suicide training through Hertfordshire Council. But I was asked, sorry?
Did you do the harmless training?
Yes. But I was asked by one of the volunteers on Shout, who isn't in Hertfordshire, whether I knew of any organisation that she, as an individual, she could get further training on. So I'm wondering if...
Yes, we deliver it every couple of weeks. So our next training is the 17th of August at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Anyone is welcome. And I have to be honest with you, we've trained over 5,000 people in the last 18 months. The training that we're delivering is very well received, so we'd love them to come on.
Okay. I might give you a plug then, if that's okay.
Yeah, and listen, anything that we can do to connect more with Shout, we would love to do that.
Okay. I'm only a lowly volunteer, but I can... We've got a forum that we've got a forum that the volunteers use. So I'll give you a plug on there, because Shout's training, we're taught how to ladder up and things, but we're not sure that we're really taught things that would help somebody to get through that blockage.
So we have a lot of people that are on phone lines that come to our training and say that it's really helped them understand.
Yeah.
But of course you have to do that within the framework of your safeguarding and policies.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And is it okay for me to invite how would I register? Do I need to register on your website for the goal setting?
Gemma, you'd be welcome to share my email with everyone here, and then I can send you the links.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone wants to register on anything, just go to the OLLIE Foundation website. It's a bit convoluted, the website, sorry, apologise. One of our ambitious targets is to make it easier to work through. But if you find yourselves on our online calendar, then it's just you book through Eventbrite. It's just click, click, click.
Okay,
I think what we'll do, Gemma, is, I was just going to say, Debbie, we seem to get a lot more requests and this is the whole point of Givey Connect. So I think, Gemma, we need to kind of, in the Givey community Facebook page permanently, we can put OLLIE Foundation in there, Debbie. So anything coming up, so people who are coming and going in this journey with us can just go to one place, and then they can just book it directly with you. So it's permanently there, and you know, you don't need to look around. And because the more and more we do this, the more and more that peer-to-peer stuff is easy to get to. Basically, that's kind of being the connector.
Brilliant. And I'll share the slides from today with you.
I was going to ask, I think it's really valuable. Yeah, if you could, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Which would be really good. And again, use that to promote OLLIE Foundation, really, from within our donor base. I mean, we do have about 100,000 donors on our ecosystem, but obviously they've all come through donating their particular cause, but we don't really we just use our charities as the voice. And then I think I mentioned to a few of you, whatever, we probably get a donor, at least out of 10 donors, at least 1.2 donors come back and donate again and again. So I think it's kind of getting that, again, peer-to-peer thing going, that it's a place of belonging. And if people are interested in, you know, donkey charities and whatever, fine. But I think then we create a forum where they can come and feel safe and say, oh, I can come here and do other things. If that's, everyone goes through different changes in life and supporting different causes as you go through your cycle of giving, if you like. And I think we're trying to facilitate that, basically, from that point of view, which would be useful. Yeah, very good.
This is really transferable knowledge. So for young people to know how to overcome their obstacles, what a difference that would make when maybe in their teens they're facing something that feels unfaceable. I think it would make a big difference. And as I've shared with you already today, we have and we do use it with people on the day of their biggest crisis, and it helps them to move out of that crisis back into hope. Yeah. So, you know.
No, it's I think I've talked, I mean, again, just kind of talk to everyone about, we've been getting a lot of young people for 2 years now to come in and help us to help small charities or whatever. And some of them are actually on this call. Serbia has just joined as an intern for 2 months. Rob has been helping John. So we're creating an ecosystem of young people who could be the bridge in terms of the digital stuff that a lot of charities struggle with. And I'm talking about just the logistics of it. But one of the things that we've identified is there's a lot of students either at university and all coming through lack of job opportunities, hope, etc. And I think I mentioned to you, Debbie, that they have come up with something that they want to create for students at university, so student ambassador at university. And this team here is actually creating the ecosystem for that. So I think it's like constantly evolving something that, you know, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel, Debbie, because you've got a program. Basically.
And we have a university wellbeing program,
exactly.
Which we love to collaborate and
exactly. So I think then we bring it to the 300 odd universities, and it's something that's there permanently for them, because I think some of the students have been working for us or whatever, they themselves have been going through some of these challenges or whatever. And you know, we are kind of really grateful that kind of they are open to us about where they are in their journey, and we just, all of us provide a mechanism for them to communicate and kind of bridge that gap or whatever. So I think that would be really useful, basically, you know, from that point of view. And I think Rob and Serbia, both at, you know, university or whatever, have been helping us kind of design that and have the freedom to express, if you like, and create something that we haven't even thought of, basically.
Well, let's make it happen.
Well, Rob, you've heard it.
yeah, definitely.
I'm taking my notes now.
You know, which is really good. So thank you, everyone. I think we've run out of time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, so much for joining. Thank you, Debbie. It's been
thank you.
Amazing. I think really useful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.